Welcome to Authors Revealed. I'm Becky Anderson. We're so excited to have one of our favorite YA authors. It's Sophie Jordan and her new book, The Reign of Shadows. This is a real dark one you're gonna love. Well, Sophie, welcome to Anderson's in Naperville. It's great to have you back.
I know,
Yeah.
it's been a while.
It has been a while, so I was
Since
so happy.
Firelight.
Yeah.
See, I live my life according to books. Like, since Firelight, since
Right.
I'm invited.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as years, only book years.
You know, that's so funny. I'm sure that's how you guys think of that sort of
know.
thing on that last tour or whatever it was.
Right.
So, and it's wonderful you're touring with Victoria
Yes.
for this. So, and I know you've done this before, and I asked her the same question about touring with other authors. Does that make it more fun? Is it somebody to hang out with and because you're
Definitely.
writing in the same genre, what you're
Right.
touring for? Does it just make it a
It
better
does. And, you
experience?
know, everyone seems surprised once they see us together. They're like, oh, you've known each other forever. But no. But
Yeah.
we have this commonality. You just drop right into it. We speak, books.
And you guys just met yesterday.
We
so it's
did.
just-
It just feels much longer. And we
I
speak
bet.
books and we speak the
Yeah.
writing business and we have
Yeah.
a lot to talk about.
So the new book, and
Yes.
this is going to be a duology.
It is a duology.
And can I say, yay?
Yay. Yay. I know.
Yay. But Reign of Shadows,
Right.
and it's only been out for one day. Came out yesterday.
Doesn't
officially
feel like
in the
it
room.
again.
So what are you hearing? Because people do get those sneak peeks.
Uh-huh.
But what are you hearing from your readers, even your adult
Right.
readers that are now reading your YA?
I'm trying to think the thing that's surprised. A lot of them are picking up on a lot of the things I, deliberately or hoped to imbue in the book. They're getting that. That's kind of dark and, there's adventure and romance and it's a crazy, creepy world.
Yeah.
And then I hear the things that surprise me, but I've heard it so much, I'm like, okay, I accept that it's a retelling. And
Yeah.
I didn't
You
expect
didn't
it.
expect that. So yeah.
No, I mean, it's a marriage of a lot of things I love in books and TV, film, and I love the Rapunzel storyline. I think Disney did a fabulous job with Tangled. So a lot of them were like, oh, it's a Rapunzel retelling. And I'm like, is it? Well, there is a girl who is stuck in a tower.
Yeah.
She doesn't have long
I'm
hair.
not gonna have
but
long hair. There's no long hair, so
No, as a
that
matter
would
of
be the
fact.
one thing I would make
Yes,
into
yes,
Rapunzel,
she doesn't
right?
have long hair, but she does live the first 17 years of her life predominantly in a tower in
Right.
a dark, haunted wood.
Yeah.
So.
And I love that you named her Luna, considering that there's been an eclipse
And
over the whole.
that was my daughter's idea.
See, oh,
I
that's
know.
Cool. That's very
And
cool.
I asked her, I said, what should I name this girl? And I gave her the premise that it's this dark eclipse. There's
Yeah.
23 hours of darkness in a day. And, the sun is hidden behind the moon. And she's like, Luna. And she's not even in Spanish yet. So that's next year. But still, she knew.
Yeah,
And
right.
I thought, no, and I told her, I said, no, I don't really like that. And then I visited every other possibility. And I'm like, it's Luna.
Right.
That's who she is.
Right. So, but what's wonderful about this book
Mm-hmm.
is that you tell it from 2 points of view.
I love that. I loved
And
doing that.
have you done that before? Or
No.
And so
No.
what was that like? And I always wonder, and you're going back and forth, and even authors who do even more points of view,
Right.
you're getting in the head of the character and switching back and
Yeah.
forth. Like you almost have to, you're in my chair and then you're going to switch over to this chair.
Right.
In a way.
It
So-
was tricky in that, it's a guy and it's a girl.
Right.
And I loved doing that. I liked to be in both their heads, and there's a romance in the story between them. So that was really exciting to be able to talk from the guy's POV. But it was when I started writing it, it was the thing I was conscious of in the beginning was to make them sound distinct from each other.
Right.
And then I just started thinking about, wow, she's been trapped in a tower for 17 years in this dark world with monsters and humans you can't trust. And he's been out in the world surviving. So where they come from is entirely different.
Right.
His experiences are very unlike her experiences. So that just made them distinct. And that took care of it.
Yeah. So where did the seeds for this story start to grow? Where were those little things? Because you built this world, and so where did those little elements come from?
I always have been fascinated with the dark world, and not just metaphorically, but I wanted a world that there really is no sunlight, but I was troubled by well, then the world would be dead. That world can't survive. And then I was like, you know what? This is a fantasy novel. If I wrote it in a fantasy novel, I could make it work. And then I played with the idea of that 1 hour of sunlight a day, which is called midlight. And the fact that it's only been existing for 17 years. So really, the planet is virtually dying. but it hasn't died yet.
Yeah.
The majority of the population is dead, but not everybody.
Right, right.
So
right.
there was that idea. That kernel had always been there. And then, I mean, it is somewhat an homage. I liked The Girl in the Tower. I do love Tangled, but, and just, my love of fantasies, Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, the Riddick Chronicles. He's blind and or impaired visually, and so is my protagonist, Luna.
So writing a pair of novels, because your last was a trilogy. So how was it different? Because in a trilogy, you have to think of you're thinking of this arch over 3 separate books, and now this is two. So are you approaching it differently than you would with a trilogy?
I did. I didn't have. I mean, the story arc is not as big as the Firelight trilogy is 3 books and even a novella.
Right.
What was different about coming into the world of Reign of Shadows was I knew the ending, which was so nice.
Ah, okay.
I knew exactly what was going to happen, how it was going to resolve. Is this dark eclipse going to lift? Is it not? How how can it end? How can things really be better when this is the world? It's sort of like looking at those zombie apocalypse books and movies. Well, how's that going to be better? That's never going away, right? I mean, so but I figured it out from the beginning how I wanted to end it. So I did have that end point, and then 2 books, and boom.
Yeah, so you start at the beginning, you know the end.
Right.
So outlining in between.
So I had to figure out where the second book was going to end.
Okay.
Right.
But then in between.
Right. It could have been one massive book, I guess.
Right. That's true.
But there was a turning point.
Yeah.
And the flavor of I just finished the sequel, and the flavor of the sequel is very different. So it is sort of like a part 2.
Okay. Okay. So there are many adjectives for this book, many. And it's dark, it's dangerous, there's romance, it's heart pounding. I mean, this is sort of an epic story, but the world, describing the world and the dark dwellers, whoa. But how did you build this world? And when you think about the world you're building, and do you have to sit down, write your roles, and this is what I'm going to stick to, or can you, as the world changes, because this world is, well, I don't,
Right.
But writing out the rules, how do you world build this?
A lot of it evolved as I was writing it. Like even halfway through, I would take pauses and I'd be like, wait, again, this is a dark world. I actually spent some time thinking about nocturnal creatures.
Okay.
How this would be a time for them to rule almost. A nocturnal creature would be, loving this. So, and how they might react. That's why, a lot of those nocturnal creatures in the book are massive in size. They're, because they're able to grow and develop. It's their heyday. So I was like, and some of the nocturnal creatures, a lot of them are creepy. And that lent itself well to the book.
Yeah.
The dark dwellers themselves that come from under the ground, that are awakened really by the dark eclipse, I Googled and researched a little bit on how moles, the star-nosed mole works.
Oh,
and
sure.
They're kind of disgusting.
They are. They're kind of, they're creepy looking.
They have feelers that help sense their way around, which are what I kind of borrowed. And those feelers actually drip toxin, and they'll drip that onto like prey, like on their bugs and stuff. So I was like, that is awesome. So I just, again, blew the idea of that up into something, into my monsters.
Yeah. And well, no, it's great. They were great monsters. They kind of remind me of the Grievers, kind of in the so that sort of thing. So Luna, she's this princess who everyone thinks she's lost,
right?
And she wants to make sure that people think that that's the case, that she's but she is in this tower. But tell us a little bit about Fowler.
Oh,
what a great character! And
you want to know my inspiration for Fowler?
Yes, I'd like to know that.
Daryl from The Walking Dead is that is my inspiration for Fowler. I was like, that is a guy that in the real world may not have.
Yeah. So who from The Walking Dead is part amalgamation? That makes.
I
Fowler.
mean, just well, he's obviously he's an archer, but he has that skill and that survivor instinct. But in order to survive in this world, they have to like deaden themselves somewhat emotionally to other people and forming connections, and that's. He's very determined not to, feel for anybody ever again.
Yeah. So he's a loner, but he's pretty good at what he does.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He is a survivor, and he reluctantly pairs with Luna in the beginning of the book. anti Luna, but
Yeah. So none of this
I'm always a
romance
sucker
stuff
for that.
me.
Yeah, I am just a sucker for the whole, you're the last person I want to be with. So of course you want to see that happen.
Exactly. So considering this whole world and the Dark Dwellers, and it's been 17 years of this, what effect does this have on people? I mean, because you're showing it in your characters, but what does it have on the society? What's left of it? It's just incredible.
That's what I had to visit a little bit, like how it really almost dehumanizes them to a degree when you're just surviving.
Right.
And I played with different scenarios, how there could be a group here surviving. I have a group of people that, hunger is a very, food is in desperate need, and how, I think about like when those people are stranded at sea and you're not supposed to drink the salt water, but you're so thirsty and you don't have water, and they drink the salt water and that makes everything worse.
Right.
And I was like, so here are people who, they're hungry. They even know, like, there's the giant bats that grow to enormous size, but they get this thing called bat fever. If they eat it, it makes them totally, utterly mad and insane. But they're so starving that these giant bats are everywhere, so they'll eat them, and then they'll go mad and insane. And
But which is there are parallels to what's happening in the world today, even by eating things like that. Too.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's different, able to trying to think about again how all different people would act, and then there's some people that are in this like little bubble where everything seems perfect and they're just having parties and they don't get what's going on because it hasn't touched them directly yet.
So this book felt very medieval to me in a way.
Yeah.
And I know you write a lot of historical.
I do, and I'm a history major.
Right.
History
right.
degree.
So did you do any research just to get sort of the feel and what it was like?
I looked up
during
some things, but
I've
read a lot. I grew up reading a lot of medieval fiction and historical fiction of Victoria Holt. Like I read a lot of that growing up.
Right.
So it was really in my mind a feudal system before it hit. Crofters and the king and in the manor, and it was how I imagined it to be. And that this dark eclipse happens every millennium or so, and it's buried in their collective subconscious. Like, because they have these fairy tales of monsters coming out from under the ground. They just think it's part of their lore. They don't get, because it was so far removed, that this in fact happened.
Generations have passed and it's been forgotten.
So they just go about their medieval existence until it happens again.
Yeah. So telling a story from these 2 points of view, did you have to work at trying to channel, they're teenagers, basically, and you're channeling yourself at that age, and your kids aren't quite that age, but they're almost, your daughter is almost there.
Yeah.
So was it hard to really, because they're very different people, obviously, but channeling their sort of the mood of what it's like to be that age, no matter what your circumstances.
I think anytime I write YA, I do.
Yeah.
But the history of my YAs, from Firelight to Uninvited to this one, is, perhaps Uninvited the most because she was living a very normal teenage existence until something happened to her. But in Firelight and now in Reign of Shadows, they were never normal teenagers,
Sure.
I kind of just wrote them as people living through this thing that happened to be 17. But the thing about Luna that I did channel into was just that, she's been isolated. She's only had her 2 guardians her whole life. So, and she knows, she's read books, and her guardian has told her about her mother and how her mother and father fell in love. So there is that part of her, that young girl that like yearns for all these experiences, She has never even met a boy until she meets Fowler. So she can't quite handle the whole, why do I feel nauseous? Why do I feel all, So that was, I remember that.
So you've written a lot of romance books for adults, and in several different series, even for Avon, and so some paranormals under another name, a pseudonym. So, but all that writing, how different is it writing for young adults as it is for writing when you do your adult writing?
I think one of the largest differences is when I do write an adult, it's specifically one of those things. It's either a historical romance or a paranormal romance or fantasy. Like it was one of those specific things. and there are like reader audience expectations of what they're going to get. And a YA, I feel like the YA is just it's just an amazing genre because it is only YA. That is it. Like everything you can find in adult, you find within YA. Like you can find the romance, the horror, the suspense, historical, fantasy. So I like, and the fact that it's often in first person. I don't do that often in adults. So I'm writing these first person stories of these crazy things, like things that come out of the ground, and it's sort of medieval, but not medieval, because I create these creatures and a girl stuck in a tower, and there's rumors of, haunted woods, and so it's just being able to do whatever I want and not worry so much about the category.
Well, see, that's, I think that's very
the category is young adult.
Yeah, right.
And anything can go in it.
That's right. Yeah. So when did you decide you were going to write, like when you Firelight, your first YA, what led you to that from writing all your other books?
Oh, I read my first YA in like 15 years. Well, no, not 10 years.
Yeah, okay. And do you remember, what was that? Do you remember what it was?
My first YA was Lisa McMahon's Wake. And it woke me up. Called Wake, is not funny. It just made me think, whoa, what is this? This is YA. What? And then I just remembered there was not this supply of YA when I was a young adult. So I think by 8th grade I had to start diving into Stephen King and Victoria Holt.
That's what I did.
Because there just was not other than I think Christopher Pike was then, but it was just it's kind of today's the golden age of YA, really.
No, it really is. And are you surprised? Because of course your readers that read your adult books are following you to your YA.
They do.
But there's a lot of other adult readers that are coming to your books. Do you find that surprising? Because it's a huge crossover market.
It's more crossover than I expected.
Okay. Yeah.
Because as you mentioned, I did write like a paranormal adult series under a different name. I did not find that crossover as much into, like, when I'm doing the adult things, this adult reader doesn't necessarily jump. Okay. But the YA readers are yes, they're teenagers, but so many adults are reading it.
Yeah, it's really, it's a phenomenon that's been going on for a while, but we're always not surprised, but it's just, like, wow.
And I don't think, why shouldn't it be that way? The only thing when I started reading YA and deciding, hey, I think I really want to try my hat at this, I want to write my own, is thinking the only thing that makes it YA is that the characters are young adults. It doesn't, and that's where I think the mistake gets made a lot. Like someone feels like, I've met many a woman that feels like she needs to apologize because she's reading young adult. Like, I know it's for teens. No, it's not for teens. It's about your protagonist is a teenager. That doesn't mean a 30-year-old can't read it.
Right.
It's just, and who wouldn't want to revisit, reading about a 17-year-old? Everyone remembers it.
But you remember that age so well and what you went through.
Right.
And that's what so much of good YA sort of revisits that and what we are going through, and in lots of different situations and settings and worlds.
Human condition.
That's right. That's right. So you started law school. You tried.
I did.
But you end up teaching high school English.
I did, because I thought law school was going to be like living Law and Order. I thought I was going to be walking with Olivia and Elliot and hanging out and walking down the courthouse steps, and there was going to be these chimes like on the Law and Order show. Right. It was nothing like that. It was actually, my wake-up call was, well, yes, it was hard, but I wasn't very interested in it. The course I did the best in, my A of my first semester of law school was in contract law, and it was so dry and so not interesting to this person who lives in the clouds. And I thought and then I kind of started wondering, why did I do so well in contract law? And it was because it was language. I've always had an affinity for the written word and a good grasp of language and understanding what's really being said. And I did decide I was going to teach because at least I can be around books. And I taught English for 4 years and hopefully conveyed some of my passion for books to my students. So that was my route.
Yeah. So those two experiences, did either one of them, I know the high school experience, informed you as a writer and gave you some of that experience?
Well, high school certainly did. That's when I was teaching high school, Harry Potter was coming into it, kids were reading. I felt like when I grew up, kids weren't embracing it as much. Yeah.
Right.
maybe linked back again. That links right back to the supply wasn't there. I don't know, but suddenly kids were reading a lot, and just being able. I was very young. I was, in my 20s teaching them, and a lot of them spent their lunches with me in my classroom. They would go get their lunch and hang out with me, and I would, I don't know. It was. I didn't feel when I sat down to start writing my YA, I did not feel so disconnected or removed from not only my teen years, but from those years with those students too.
Right, sure. So I love the cover on Reign of
too.
Shadows. It is
Have
so
you pet-
wonderful.
Did you pet it
I
yet?
know. It
It's
has
that like matte velvet.
I
It's so
know.
good.
It's really nice. So
Thank
do you have much say in your covers? Because some authors have absolutely no say.
It's, I've been lucky with all my covers. They did say it was going to be like title centric. It wasn't going to have a person on it. And I thought, well, that's interesting. That'll be fun because I haven't had that with that Fireline Uninvited series. And I know I love so many title centric covers, like the Beautiful Creatures cover. Yeah. So I'm really excited. They told me they would maybe do some vines, work the vines, and that it is the ground, which, my dark dwellers come out of the ground. And it's dark, yet something somewhat hopeful. I don't know. I definitely don't think there's been anything like it. So that's not.
No. It's very unique. And
actually, some of these flowers I know that are poisonous.
Oh.
They are.
I'll see. That's
I don't know. I'm not sure if it's this one or this one, but the artist who did it went online, and
Wow.
they are from somewhere in the world. They are poisonous flowers. So
Okay. So do you remember your first recollection of wanting to be a writer? I mean, how young you were, and what was that first thing you wrote and go, oh, I've written something?
I remember coming to reading late, like 7th grade. And I don't remember the specific book, but finding kind of my gateway book. Because then I just read so much, so there was this whole blur of books that year for me.
Sure.
And I remember, I don't know what motivated me to start writing and what the specific thing was. I remember thinking, wow, this isn't as good as what I read. Like that was a wake-up call. Like, you read this very polished stuff over here, and in your head you have your story, and it's alive. It's going like a movie reel in your head, and then you sit down to write it, and you're like, wow, that doesn't look like what's in here.
Right.
But that's experience and age taught me to deal with that. I do remember looking at being aware enough. I had a bookcase similar to this, same one of my parents. And I remember going down and looking at who was publishing those books.
Oh, interesting.
And I was about in 8th grade doing that, going, okay, Harper, Dell, random, like just paying attention.
Yeah, sure.
So it was there somehow, and I wondered, how do I get to them? Like it just seems so impossible.
So touring with another author and those group tours, we have been hosting them for a long time. I think Harper was the one who first started doing them years ago. But does it make a tour better, touring with somebody and more enjoyable and all that kind of stuff? But also, when you're talking to kids and doing school events, that makes a difference that you have someone else there and you can bounce off ideas and questions. And
it does. I think it's more entertaining for the audience too.
Sure.
Because it's like you're doing it's like a conversation with these two authors.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can have that with one, but no, there's just something in the exchange going on with the two up at the top of the room, and we've already done it now a few times. We know each other's. We kind of give each other it's your lead in,
Yeah, right. What are you working on now? We know you said you just finished.
I just finished the sequel.
And can you give us a title?
I can actually.
Oh, okay, good.
I've only mentioned it a few times, but this title, Reign of Shadows, we had to go back and forth quite a bit about it because it is such a different book. We weren't, there's the royal theme, my Southern coming out. But the second book is called Rise of Fire.
Oh, okay.
So I'm very excited about it.
And working on anything else on your other side of writing?
I'm doing copy edits for something on the adult side right now.
Oh, wow.
I have a book to finish in 2 weeks, and then
and you're on tour
right
now?
Tour.
Oh my gosh.
And it's really nice. I do write on the adult side of Harper, and I'm on the YA side with Harper's Children. So it's nice being together with everybody there. They're pretty. When I'm like, guys, I'm on tour. Can I have another 2 weeks? They're really like, okay,
That's
it's
good.
something for their sister. Not
That's
like,
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, so I end these interviews with a little quiz. You know all the answers, no pressure. So they're all mostly book related. So whatever comes to mind. So here we go. Favorite book as a child?
The Giving Tree.
Oh, okay. How about? Do you remember something in high school that you read that still stayed with you? Even if you hated it.
Elie Wiesel's Night.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, how about something in college?
Madame Bovary. I don't know why it sticks with me, but it does.
Okay. Okay, how about a favorite book that you used to use with your high school students when you were teaching?
To Kill a Mockingbird.
In your life, have you ever faked reading a book?
I don't think so. Oh, well, maybe in school I might
school,
have.
that's what I mean.
Absolutely.
That's what I mean in
What book
school.
would I have done? Oh, are you ready?
Yeah.
It was Confederacy of Dunces.
That's okay. That's
Okay,
good.
is that okay?
That's
I wanted
okay.
to admit
You're
that
okay.
I kind of tried. But,
Yeah. No. You're okay.
All right.
You're
all
okay.
right.
Okay. Any book you've ever read? The one book that you were an evangelist for to tell everybody about.
Well, I think it was Stacey Cade's The Rules.
Oh.
I just loved it so much.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought, and it was a dual POV. I thought she did the guy POV so well. And she's not really, she doesn't like to identify herself as
Sure.
a strong romance author
Yeah,
within
right.
YA. And, I told her, and I will still say this to this day, that is the best kiss in any YA novel I have ever read. First kiss.
Wow.
Hands down. I've tweeted her that. I've told her that. I think I've sold at least 50 books for her. Like,
Oh my
it
gosh,
is the
that's
best
great.
kissing in any YA I've ever read.
Okay. Wow. That
It's still
spells it right there.
a very PG-13 book.
Yeah,
So.
right. Okay. How about, who is your favorite YA author?
It
Or-
probably changes
Okay,
every
sure.
day.
Yeah.
That I have, if her book's out, aside I loved Stacey's, I really like Jennifer Armentrout,
Yeah.
and what's another white? And Katie McGarry. Like,
Oh,
aren't you
yeah.
noticing like the heavy road? But see, right
Yeah.
now I'm kind of on this kick. I go through phases
Sure.
as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like one of my favorite YA books I've ever read is Under the Never Sky, though. See, I was thinking how all
yeah.
my books I'm quoting are, referring
Yeah,
are
right. Yep,
contemporary,
that's a good
but
one.
Under the Never Sky. Ooh,
Okay.
I loved that one.
And with your kids, a favorite book that you used to love to curl up and read together?
I bought it in the store.
Did you? What was it?
It was that little pumpkin book. It was the 5 pumpkins and one rolled down the hill.
Oh, the
It was
5 little
soft.
jack-o'-lanterns sticking
Yes,
out
and
of
it was
them?
soft,
Okay.
and it was like this beautiful deep blue. I don't know why the art. I get very in love with illustrations on early children's books. So that book is just falling apart. And it
yeah.
went from my daughter to him. To my son,
yeah.
and we've read that book so many times.
Oh, that's
and
so
I
good.
just,
And
and then there's one called Fall Leaves. If I see beautiful illustrations on a beautiful children's board book, it's mine.
Okay, and what are you reading now or read recently that you absolutely loved?
I recently read a new adult novel that was really good. I think she's probably one of the best new adult novels out there. Is Elle Kennedy. She wrote The Deal, and then there's a second one, and I just finished the third.
yeah.
That's who I would have just read.
All right.
Okay.
100% A+.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Sophie, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for sitting down with me, and congratulations on
you
Reign of
so
Shadows.
much.
And come back for
I
the
will.
second book.
I
And
know.
these two books. I can't call it a series.
I know,
A duology. It's
Or-
duology.
yeah.
But please come back and see
I
us.
will.
And
Thanks.
It's
for
been
having
great
me.
talking with you.
It's been great talking to you too.
What a great conversation with adult author and young adult author Sophie Jordan and her new young adult novel. It's called Reign of Shadows. It's really dark. You'll love it. Thanks for joining me on Authors Reveal.